Alright, we're in round 3. We've got the choice. We'll play first. And yeah, I guess we'll keep this. Got some early burn, and Flame Wake Phoenix is fairly aggressive as well. So why not? Maybe a vampire deck? Could be. Blue-black? Possibly a blue-black control maybe or something? Alright, well. Happy Flame Wake Phoenix resolved. Very live, okay. So we're up against Reanimator deck. This seems like it could be pretty problematic for us, but let's see which ones my opponent has. Angel of Serenity, Terastodon, and Shieldred. Alright. All quite strong, all very difficult to beat. Bonfire. Just do a bonfire for 2. Guess there's a chance I can burn out my opponent. Is bonfire going to be better later? Probably not. But I guess I would rather just start burning my opponent at this point. I think our best odds now are trying to race. I mean, there's a chance bonfire gets better later. We're a bit flooded, and one more land, and bonfire does the same thing later as it would have done as a miracle. And now at least we can stagger shock as well. So the reason I'm not stagger shocking on my turn is I want to see if it affects which res target my opponent chooses. Because, like, I feel like if I stagger shock on my turn, my opponent... Well, I feel like my opponent, I guess, does shield rid regardless. Enemy dead on Terastodon. Alright, let's see what... It wasn't what I was expecting. So let's see what targets my opponent does. Oh, well. I don't think this is going to work out too great for my opponent. Guess I could have just floated the mana. Because it's may destroy. So, could have altered my opponent's decision seeing that I tapped out for a stagger shock. But I'd say we're in a pretty good spot now. Definitely think my opponent should have chosen Shield Red, as it would have cost me my creature and allowed my opponent to just bring back Terastodon the next turn. But now I get to attack in, deal 8 damage to my opponent. Oh, I see. Okay. Well, that makes more sense. So, my opponent, I guess, is in a better spot now since they can block the Flame Wake Phoenix and all that, and I lose pretty much everything. Okay. Pretty good turn for my opponent, definitely, but opponent had a pretty awesome hand. Yeah, definitely. My opponent had a pretty awesome hand. So I guess we just chill out. Take 8. Psychotog, okay. Alright, so bonfire for 1. Doesn't really do anything for me that I can think of. But I guess it opens me up for another, maybe a better kill with like Chandra's Phoenix. My opponent swings maybe. Or I guess it gives me a kill with Hell Rider. Okay. So I guess we'll bonfire for 1. Obviously not the best. But it does give us some actual outs here. So depending on what my opponent chooses to attack with, I guess. I guess I have to block Terastodon. Well, we'll see how my opponent attacks. I guess am I just dead? 5 plus discard 4 cards. That brings us up to 10. Then exile. Yep, I guess we're dead. So it's unfortunate, but like I said, opponent had a pretty awesome hand, so more power to him. I'm actually not a big fan of res decks. They're reliant on you having too much, in my opinion. I don't like that they require you to have either a discard outlet or like a buried alive sort of entomb outlet plus a reanimate effect, and it doesn't just read win the game. Like, for example, I went for the infinite combo with Kiki Jiki, and Deceiver Exarch or whatever, and Pestermite and Splinter Twin. That just reads win the game. You resolve those 2 and you get to just win. It's disruptible, but it just wins. Whereas a reanimator deck requires you to fill your. Think of all the requirements of a reanimator deck. You have to have creatures that are worth rezzing. So you have to have big creatures. You have to have ways to get your big creatures in your graveyard. So buried alive style effects, entomb. Then on top of that, as if that wasn't enough, you have to have a reanimator card. So you have to be able to have fatties, fill your graveyard with fatties, have cards to bring said fatties back from your graveyard, and then even after all that work, you still don't even necessarily win. You just you have a fatty early. So it's clearly going to be good against our deck because we just don't have a lot of good hard removal. I could maybe once again do Is It Charm or something like that. But I don't really like it. I think I'd rather just keep it the same and hope our opponent doesn't draw hot, basically. This hand's adequate. It's not great. I'll keep it. Okay, Stormkirk Noble's pretty reasonable draw. I guess at least we have the Toxic Deluge, so could be helpful. Alright, Geralf's Messenger is certainly not intimidating at all, so no problems there. We're going to actually play Purphoros first, the reason being, if I play Koth, well, I guess I could play Koth. The reason I wanted to play Purphoros is next turn I can turn it on with Devotion, with the Koth, and then swing in for a lot of damage and get by a blocker. Whereas if I do Koth, he most likely attacks with Geralf's Messenger. Maybe that's not a big deal, but Purphoros is certainly good too. I think I'm going to set up. I'm going to set myself up or try to. Although then my opponent, I guess, gets a Geralf's Messenger block, which isn't ideal. I can get in for 7 here. I'm going to get in for 7. I think it behooves me to try and get as much damage in as I can here. I've screwed up that Koth before where you choose the mountain that has summoning sickness, because it doesn't actually give your mountain haste, sadly. But I think I'm fairly safe as long as I choose one that's not on top of the pile. I think the top of the pile one is the one you have to worry about. So at least you can't kill Koth. You can't really attack it too comfortably. Just a concession. Okay. Well, concession I shall always take. Wow, Perforos and Whirling Outburst would have been pretty sweet. And having the striker lets us get by the messenger, so okay. So we got the good draw that time around. I still think Tangle Wire's probably pretty good against our opponent. Yeah, we don't have too much of a sideboard. I think we just gotta try it again. All right, you know what? I guess we'll keep this. Obviously not the best hand since we don't have a hyper-aggressive start, but we have some reasonable ways to do that, I think. Okay, unfortunately our opponent had the Entomb, so looks like pretty good chance we're just going to get blown out by Resurrection, but can't do much about it, unfortunately. Alright, opponent had the ideal hand, so disappointed, but what can you do? Opponent had it. Yeah, so it turned out our hand was just didn't draw fast enough, but I think even if we'd had our nut hand, we just were going to be unable to beat the Entomb Animate Dead. But like I said, I actually, I really don't like the res decks very much. I think they're too, I just don't like them. I think they're too reliant on too much stuff. They're not a very easy deck to draft. Our opponent was just really lucky here, obviously, and Tomb into Animate Dead, so not ideal. And having follow-up plays as well is obviously not ideal either. So kind of a disappointing game, but disappointing things happen sometimes in Magic, so I'll accept it. And this deck didn't even turn out the way I wanted it to, so I didn't think it was very good. I'm honestly not surprised in at all that we ended up going 1-2 with it. I wasn't happy with it. I really wanted to. This is the second time, like I said, I've tried a draft combo and just fell short because I couldn't find the way back in. Couldn't find, what am I trying to say? Couldn't find the combo piece that I was missing. So disappointed, but it's okay. Opponent just had the nut, so what can you do? Gotta unhappily accept it. No real chance back in this game that I can think of. I guess Bonfire off the top at least. I don't think that saves me actually, but wait. How come it didn't get the +X? Is it attacking with the mirrors too? Oh. I guess we're dead anyway slice it to the battle sphere. So, alright. Disappointing outcome, but opponent had the nut and our deck wasn't that great anyway, so it's okay. It's no biggie. What am I doing now? I guess it doesn't really matter, does it? So, certainly a disappointing outcome, but disappointing outcomes do happen in Magic, and you have to get used to them when they do. Yeah, I guess I could have. No, we were still dead. I guess I could have like firebolted a mirror or a looter, and then we still die. So if I do it to a mirror, we still die. To the looter, I can't really cast char. I guess I could have charred a looter plus firebolted a mirror, but then I still would have died to the mirror battlesphere. So um, just no real way to bring it back. So definitely a disappointing draft overall, but sadly, this cube hasn't been very good to me overall. I haven't been happy with. I guess we started out well, but been really unhappy with the drafts I've or the decks I've drafted. I choose a green deck and I don't see any of the green creatures. I choose a combo deck and I see all the green creatures. So I just keep sadly choosing the wrong archetype. I keep choosing an archetype I want to do, and then I start picking it, and then right in the middle of like pack two is when I discover it's like completely closed off to me. So ended up going 1-2 with a mediocre red deck wins. No surprise at all, no disappointment. It's pretty much what you expect from a, you know, mid-level, nothing special sort of red deck. So hopefully we can draft a more interesting cube deck. Like I said, I preferred. I really don't like the res decks. I mean, yeah, obviously you want to say, but look how sweet it is because it worked out for this guy. But I don't like the drafting process of it. Like I said, it requires you to get res cards, fatties, and ways to fill your graveyard. And even when you get all of that, it doesn't even read win the game. If I had been any sort of deck with like Swords to Plowshare, Wrath of God, any sort of control build just easily cripples this. So I really do not like the Reanimator decks. I prefer to not go that route if at all possible. Maybe I can explore some other archetypes though. Like I did like the White Weenie deck that we played in round two, even if the opponent kind of rubbed me the wrong way. I do think that's a very legit archetype, and it has been in Cube for a long time. So the old Ravages of War Armageddon White Weenie deck. So maybe that's something I can try. Maybe I try Vampires. I actually don't think Vampires is a very good deck. I'm a little surprised they don't have Nocturnus. Like maybe they do, but I haven't seen them yet. Um, but yeah, I'd be surprised if they don't have Nocturnus since he's like the best lord ever. All right, I guess I don't have anything else to say. I wish we could have, wish the deck could have come together better. I wish the deck we did create could have performed better, but neither of those things happened. So I'll accept it and move on. We'll see you for the next one.